Welcome to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're plunging into a really fascinating topic, maybe a bit challenging too.
Definitely. We're looking at visual media,
Hmm.
specifically Hollywood and the film industry.
Yeah, and how it might, influence our subconscious perceptions, our understanding of global events, even whole cultures.
The big one.
Our deep dive
Mm.
today is based on some really surprising insights from a YouTube transcript. It's from Towards Eternity, and the title is pretty direct. Hollywood's anti-Islam agenda, they want the world to hate Muslims.
So our mission, really, is to unpack the key nuggets from this source for you. We'll explore this idea, the idea that maybe these portrayals aren't just accidental.
And what that means for how we all consume information.
Exactly.
And just a reminder, as always, this deep dive is about exploring what's in the source material. We want you to understand the perspectives being presented here.
Yeah, we're guides today, helping you grasp the arguments, the observations. We're not here to endorse them or refute them, just explore.
Okay, so let's get into the main premise. Because it's quite something. The source really focuses on this long-standing question.
hmm
Is our subconscious being, I guess, played with by movies, by social media?
Right. Some people see it as a serious issue. The source points that out. Others, they might just call it conspiracy theory.
But the insights we're digging into today, they stem from a specific moment for the researcher in the source, an American Muslim researcher.
Yeah, their journey into all this apparently kicked off when they saw a movie called simply Hollywoodism.
Hollywood is. Okay,
Yeah.
so what's the premise there?
Well, the source explains it like this. It's about a group of immigrant Jewish men, refugees from Europe, who came to the U.S.
Okay.
They started film companies, like, from nothing. And eventually, they became the huge moguls, the giants running Hollywood.
Very the founders. And the source immediately connects that story to a really common theme in early American movies, especially Westerns.
Yeah.
You know, the poor white American settler, maybe with his family, their wagon,
Hmm.
just trying to build a home.
And then attacked by savage, barbaric indigenous people. That trope,
It was everywhere in Westerns, wasn't it? Almost foundational.
absolute.
Okay, so here's where the source makes a really striking connection. Some might find it, well, chilling.
It draws a direct line, a stark parallel between that old Hollywood Western trope.
And the rhetoric used around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Exactly. The argument presented is that Palestinians are often portrayed in a similar light
Yeah.
as barbaric animals,
Fighting against settlers who just want to make a home, it's the same narrative framework according to the source.
which leads to this really unsettling question the source poses.
Yeah.
Have we been set up for this for decades? Has the audience been subtly conditioned, indoctrinated even?
To support Israel by sort of mapping them onto that poor settler image.
And Palestinians onto the awful indigenous people role.
Yeah. And the source doesn't pull punches here. It points to the historical outcome for Native Americans' annihilation reservations.
And then draws that challenging comparison to Palestine, suggesting this like deep-seated societal conditioning through media.
It's a heavy idea. Let's talk about the power of these visuals, because
Yeah.
the source really emphasizes this.
It does. When you see an image, a picture, whether it's on a screen or even in print,
Hmm.
it hits differently, doesn't it? It goes deep.
Yeah, and the speaker in the source talks about their own experience growing up in America, watching Disney.
Yeah.
They even mention the first color TV shows, often Disney ones.
Right.
And then later, feeling this sense of, well, shock, realizing they'd been, in their words, indoctrinated about certain things.
That moment of looking back and connecting the dots, it sounds profound.
It really does. And this personal story, the source uses it to explain maybe why Americans, for, generations, might have seemed less sympathetic to Palestinians.
Why they consistently sided with Israel, even when faced with things the source calls alleged atrocities.
Because the idea is audiences have been kind of socialized to see that very thing happening again and again in media.
Yeah. And the speaker finds it shocking because it was right there, in front of us, all these years, but maybe not consciously processed.
Okay, so let's get specific. The source mentions particular movies, some research.
Let's dive in.
The speaker talks about seeing the movie Exodus. This was back in middle school.
Exodus. Paul Newman, right? Big movie.
Yeah. And they describe how it showed poor Jewish people just trying to make a home in Palestine.
But they were besieged by horrible Arabs, a.k.a. Muslims. That's the portrayal described.
And the impact, according to the source, was pretty immediate and noticeable on the speaker's peers.
How so?
Well, they mention Christian friends suddenly starting to wear Star of David necklaces, talking about wanting to join a kibbutz in Israel.
Interesting.
And this made the speaker question things. They remembered a time when, maybe in certain communities, Jewish people hadn't been so openly embraced. So they saw this as a definite shift in perception among American Christians.
Which leads us nicely to some quite striking research mentioned in the source.
Right, Jack Shaheen's work.
Exactly. His book and the documentary, Real Bad Arabs. Huge undertaking. He looked at thousands of Hollywood films.
From the very beginning of cinema, right? Analyzing how Arabs were depicted.
And what he found consistently was vilification and a stereotypical presence of Arabs right from the start of Hollywood.
And the source really details these stereotypes. It's quite graphic.
Yeah, Arabs shown as evil, sneaky, lying, deceitful, scandalous.
And specific physical things: too dark, bearded, the bulbous nose, shifty eyes, bad teeth, designed to look scary, especially to kids.
And those recurring tropes.
Always the shakes, right? Lusting after white women, and the source explicitly links that to how Native Americans and African Americans were sometimes portrayed.
And always in the desert. Oases, harems, that whole package of Orientalism, that sort of exotic, often demeaning Western lens on the East.
Okay, but the statistic from Shaheen's research that the source highlights, that's really the jaw-dropper.
It is. Out of 1,000 portrayals of Arabs he analyzed, get this, 986 were negative.
986 out of
Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah. So the source asks, was this just coincidence? Or was there perhaps an intent behind it? Such a skewed number makes you wonder.
It really does. Then there's this anecdote about a cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
The speaker describes a character looking like a fakir of the Hindus, a holy man from India.
Right.
But the cartoon character was saying things like salami, salami, bologna, and doing these mocking, bowing motions like prostrations.
Wow.
And the speaker recalls a colleague instantly saying, "Oh, that's Muslims," even after the speaker explained the actual Muslim greeting, salam.
So the association was immediate, even though the caricature was mixed up.
Exactly. And the speaker's take on that is clear. This was purposeful, not just trying to be funny. It shows how deeply ingrained these connections became.
So if we step back and look at the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the source argues Hollywood's influence is just massive, global even.
Yeah, TV being the focal point in homes everywhere, shaping consciousness, the source says.
And not just big ideas, but little things too. How people dress, maybe even the food they choose. All influenced potentially by what they see.
Right. So given all that, the source naturally asks, what do you do about it? How do you counter these narratives?
And the message there is pretty strong. Muslims need to control their narrative. They need to tell their own story.
How? What does the source suggest?
Well, practical things. Read up, connect with the Quran, engage with alternative media, productions like Towards Eternity itself or blogging theology. Find other voices.
And it connects this to history, doesn't it? Knowing your own history is vital.
Absolutely. It highlights periods like in Muslim Spain or the Ottoman Empire, where it argues there was peace, no sectarian violence.
And specifically mentioning that Jewish people always had a home with Muslims during those times, challenging the eternal conflict narrative.
Precisely. And there's that example about Jerusalem.
Oh, yeah. Tell us that one.
Well, this source points out that under Christian rule for about 100 years, Jerusalem wasn't really a city of peace for everyone. But when Salahuddin recaptured it, the source says he made it a city of peace where different faiths could coexist.
So directly countering that common trope, that idea that Arabs and Muslims and Jews have always been fighting.
Exactly. It presents a different historical picture.
Which leads to the source's final call to action, which is pretty blunt.
It is, basically. You have to choose historians over Hollywood and Netflix.
Prioritize actual history over entertainment portrayals. Makes sense.
It's a clear choice presented.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have. The core idea is how media portrayals, intentional or not, can seriously shape perceptions.
Yeah, influence how we understand really complex global issues and maybe even build up these subconscious biases over generations.
But the source doesn't end on a completely down note. It offers a message of hope, of resilience.
From the Quran, right. Surah Ali Imran.
That's the one. Do not falter or grieve, for you will have the upper hand if you are true believers.
And that historical perspective, too.
Yeah, that victory takes time. Like the example given about overcoming the Mongols eventually, after a long, difficult struggle, it puts things in perspective.
So we leave you with this thought. Given how much visual media does influence us, our collective consciousness, what steps can you actually take?
How can you actively seek out more diverse histories, different narratives?
And critically evaluate the stories you're shown. Move beyond just passively consuming stuff.
To build a perspective that's genuinely informed.
Something to think about next time you're scrolling or settling in for a movie, maybe.